Hello,
Latency is the time
Ungoogleable.
it takes between a
Welcome
question
to
and the
your
reception
life.
of its response.
Today is beautiful.
With actual information
Free
technology, we have great amplitude of latencies that is spread across different systems. This wide spectrum of latencies is really hard to apprehend. I am taking the time to translate this, so Watson can understand what is happening here. Access time for a CPU to its cache is about 0.5 nanoseconds. Let's imagine the time going to my office, and that on my desk. Let's imagine that 0.5 nanoseconds is the time it would take for me to grab a piece of paper and scribble some note. That is 0.5 nanoseconds. To read the RAM, it would take 100 nanoseconds. I am standing up, I am going to the lower floor of my library, grab a book, and I am coming back to my desk. Total time is 1 minute, 40 seconds. To grab 2 kilooctets from a 1 gigabit per second network, a small email, it would take 20 microseconds. The human equivalent would be 5 hours and a half. Like Los Angeles-Houston flight, take the book and come back. 2 pings between computers inside a data center would take 400 microseconds. This would be 100 hours, so 1 trip to the moon. To access a file on my SSD would take 7 milliseconds, the equivalent of 81 days. Between a ping, while playing Call of Duty to the game server, 90 milliseconds passed. This would be the equivalent of a round trip Earth/Moon with actual technology. This is the state of human computing circa beginning of 21st century.
It's quite amusing to read about this. I was there, working at Microsoft, in the OS group, for essentially all of it. Multitasking DOS, then OS/too many trips to Boca, then ND. I joined what was then called the Multitasking DOS project in 1984. Had it been allowed to live and ship, it might have changed history too. I retired in 2005. Obviously I do not speak for MSFD. By the way, the 386 could support a 32-bit virtual address space, 4 GB of VM, but was limited to much smaller physical memory, 16 MB, as I recall. We built early versions of NT on PCs with 12 MB or 16 MB of physical memory as build machines. How much virtual memory was usable was largely limited by the bandwidth of paging devices, which wasn't all that hot. And you young whippersnappers wonder why didn't they do this, or that your phone has more compute cycles than the PCs we built ND on. And a modern server CPU has caches approaching the size of entire machine main memories of that era. While the AMS/IBM competition was going on, there was a parallel competition inside MS itself, between the Windows 9X group and the ND group, disputes over resources, what apps should target, and so on. By fairly early in the 90s, we indeed were way more worried about being better than 9X than we were about OS/2.
Thank you
It's
for
odd that you
logging
think
out.
compatibility hurt
Today was a wonderful day.
OS/2, since it's been ultra
Please
clear
come
since
back
about
tomorrow.
1988 that customers would simply block out any new system.
Red, blue, green.
Mic check 1 2.
Congratulations. You reject the good enough. You reject words like symbolism and postmodernism. Obsolescence is not part of your vocabulary. Every night, every day, every step of the way. The diktat of fashion. The agenda of the color wheel. Gone. It takes more than a pretty face to catch your attention. I repeat. It takes more than a pretty face to catch your attention. Good. That is very good. We are source decoded. For you. For the most perfect moisturizer. The most advanced cosmetic lineup. Scientifically proven, scientifically tested. For you.
Congratulations. Calibration completed.